Happy Word Wisdom Wednesday, everybody. Today I want to talk about a concept called the ego. We all have one. We all tend to struggle with it. And the ego is something that, if not clearly understood, can completely control our lives. So let's get into it. The ego is the part of us that acts. And it acts based on what it feels. And we feel stuff based on what we think. And what we think is directly related to our experiences in life. So the ego is a filter system by which we interpret the events of our lives, give them a certain meaning, give ourselves an identity around all those meanings, and then we behave from that place of ego. Eckhart Tolle, a wonderful author, the book The Power of Now, among others, Stillness Speaks, you should definitely check him out. He defines ego as a dysfunctional relationship with what is, a dysfunctional relationship with the present moment. What he's getting at here is that the present moment doesn't have any inherent meaning in it. It only has the meaning that we give to it. So another trick that you can understand here is that your ego is not you. Your ego is this tiny little dot at the center of who you are. And your ego thinks it is all you. Most humans walk around all day, every day, in some kind of sleepwalking autopilot mind state where they are battered around by the sea of emotions and thoughts they have, sometimes without even bringing any awareness to the table whatsoever. When you do that, you are operating from a place of ego, but you mistakenly think that that's yourself. And the actual self, the real core essence of who you are, is not the ego. You are not just a sum total of your thoughts, emotions, reactions, and behaviors. You are something higher. You are something greater. You are something far deeper than that. What you are, is the awareness that can identify thoughts, the awareness that can pause when it has feelings, the awareness that can stop a reaction in its tracks and instead come up with a response. That awareness is up here, and the thoughts, emotions, and feelings are all down below. So it takes practice, and it is a skill set, and we can learn it for how to cultivate that awareness. The more aware we become of the thoughts we have, the less victimized by the thoughts we are. The more aware we become of the emotions we have, the less held back by the emotions we are. The more aware we become of our reactions to things, the less controlled we are by those reactions, and can then determine and choose from an empowered place our responses. So think of it this way. Thoughts are in the middle here. Thoughts are something that we all have all day long, and our thoughts, as we know here, dictate our feelings, which then dictate our actions. But outside of the thoughts, there's this other whole layer, which is awareness. So the moment you're having a thought like, oh, that guy's a total asshole because he cut me off in traffic. Okay, that's a thought. You're giving meaning to that situation. That thought will then spiral into some feelings of frustration, feelings of anger, feelings of betrayal, whatever they are for you. And then those feelings will lead to some action. Maybe it's speeding up and trying to cut him back off. Maybe it's just banging your fists on the steering wheel. Maybe it's just a tightening in your gut because you're like, ugh. Either way, that's the cascading effect. Life happens, somebody cuts you off, then you think a thought about it, then you feel a feeling about it, and then you do something about that feeling. That all comes from a place without awareness. So essentially, all of that stuff is on autopilot, and it's all happening without you. It's not you. You're not bad or wrong or evil. None of us are. We all are the awareness that's outside of this entire circle. We are this awareness above the thoughts. So if you can cultivate that awareness, and when someone cuts you off in traffic and you say, oh gosh, that guy's a jerk because he cut me off, you can inject something right there. Instead of going right to what that feels like and then right to the action you're going to do, you can say, okay, I just had this thought. Let me become aware of it. Why is it a problem that he cut me off? Do I really know if that person's a jerk? Maybe there's a pregnant wife in the backseat and he's trying to get to the hospital. Like that might be a far-fetched idea and that might not be the case. Maybe the person is a jerk. But the fact is we don't know. We don't know it for sure. And we just move along with our assumptions, and then we let those assumptions dictate our thoughts, dictate our feelings, and dictate our actions. And all of those are very disempowering thoughts, feelings, and actions. So we can be held victim to our automatic thinking, the results of the feeling, and then the behaviors that seem out of our control. Or we can inject our awareness in and say, is that thought true? Is it always true? Can I think of a time when it might not be true? Those 3 questions are from the work of Byron Katie. She calls it the work. She's also an amazing author and an amazing spiritual teacher, and you should look into her as well. But if you do that work, what you do is you put a little wedge of awareness in your mind. And that awareness is where transformation happens. That awareness allows you to overcome your ego and overcome your self-identity. The dictionary defines ego as a sense of self or self-importance, which makes total sense because the ego thinks it is the whole person, but there is an entire level of self, an entire level of awareness above the ego that doesn't feel important, but just looks at things with accuracy and with calm and with neutrality. So in order to overcome your ego, or to help get your ego under control, or to help calm your ego mind down, there are 4 steps you can do. And the first step is always awareness. If you can become aware, each day just practice it as you're going through your day and suddenly you find yourself in sort of a negative spiral or a negative place, you can retrace your steps up from the actions you just took that you didn't like, that felt out of your control, to the feelings you're feeling, and identify those. And then you can say, what thought must I be thinking? What thought must I be believing is true in order to be feeling these feelings now? And when you realize that, you can then you become aware of the thinking. Every day you can cultivate this awareness by just doing those few things, by reverse engineering your behavior back to your feelings and your feelings back to your thoughts. And then you can even go back from your thoughts to the catalyst and say, okay, this thing happened. Why did that thing become a trigger? Why did I allow that thing to be a catalyst for a negative spiral? So step 1 is to cultivate awareness, and that's a quick little method of reverse engineering by which you can cultivate awareness. The next step is to drop resistance to what is. So when you notice that you're feeling sad or angry or depressed, you don't try to control it and push it away and say, okay, no, I can't feel this way because it's bad and it's wrong and it's going to attract negative things to me because of the law of attraction. Anytime you try to push something away that you're feeling that's authentically you right now, you're in a place of resistance. So the key is to drop resistance and to allow yourself to feel what is, to feel your feelings, to be in that moment exactly who you are. Step 3 is to allow the rest of the world, the outside circumstances, the other people who you might not prefer what they're doing, or the situations that you might not prefer that they are as they are, to also be as they are. It doesn't mean you give up on trying to improve the world or trying to make a positive impact. It means in that moment, when you're overcome by a negative spiral, you drop resistance. Drop resistance to the crap you're feeling. Drop resistance to the crap that they're doing or that is happening, and just allow. Take breaths and say, everything is okay as it is. It is divine in nature because it exists. And then the 4th and final step is to become flexible, agile, or adaptable. This is easier said than done because we are taught and lulled into a sense by our ego of certain habits, of knee-jerk reactions. That's what our ego has taught us to do. But with this awareness and by going through this process, what it allows you to do is to become more flexible, more adaptable, more responsive to your present circumstances instead of knee-jerk reactive. When you become more responsive, you will make the responses to the things that you don't prefer that feel within your control and that make you feel empowered. And over time, continuing to act in a way that's responsive and conscious and full of awareness creates a sense of harmony in your life, creates a sense of inner strength, inner power, and it changes the quality of your daily living experience. So the ego is not a bad thing. The ego is from part of our evolutionary process, has kept us safe, and it's a part of who we are. So as you do this process, you also don't want to resist your ego. You want to drop resistance to all of it and let everything be okay as it is, and then begin to cultivate that awareness and cultivate that responsiveness. When you do that, you will see your ego start to dissolve, and that will put you in a place of more liberation, more peace, and more power. I'll just leave you with this one other quote by Eckhart Tolle. He said, "Non-reaction to the ego in others is one of the most effective ways, not only of going beyond ego in yourself, but also of dissolving the collective human ego." So when you do this, you're not just having an impact on you, you're having an impact on the entire planet. Our reality is holographic in nature. What happens to one small part ripples out and happens to all the rest. Quantum physics and modern science is verifying this right now today. So take that to heart. Do your self-work. The best thing anyone can do to make a positive impact on the planet is to know thyself, to become more aware of themselves, and to act from a place of internal peace and inner power. Much love. I trust you, humanity. See you in the next video. Bye.